The left will never stop their agenda to take over America. You are their enemy, and they will not negotiate. Prepare yourselves. Welcome to the Blue Shark Show with your host, Mike Lang.
Today we have Dub Gillum, who is JP in Precinct 4 for Hood County, in the studio today, and we're going to talk about this Tyler fiasco. And I know it's not like, the best thing. Oh, this is like, everybody's thinking about it and talking about it. But it has to do with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And really what the Hood County News, Kathy Cruz, has done with this subject is really pretty poor. And so we have Dub Gillum, JP Precinct 4, here to kind of explain what has transpired over the last few months and how Commissioner's Court has gone over this and what you have done. And Dub, it's great to have you in studio.
Thank you, Mike. Pleasure to be here. Happy New Year, by the way. Looking forward to a great 2023. Before we get started, I just want to tell you and everybody else, I absolutely love being JP. It's all that and more that I thought it would be. I bring, honesty and integrity. 29 years with Highway Patrol backs that up. And I try to run the office the best that I can. And it's already, and I give all kudos to Danny Tuggle, my predecessor, who was JP there. He set the office up. It's the best run office. And yes, I'm a little biased, but our numbers are outstanding. Our efficiency is outstanding. Our productivity is outstanding. And I have the best clerks. And they're all good clerks in all the JP offices in the county. But mine get all the credit. It's not me. But I just came in and didn't really change a thing. But that being said, the worst thing about this job is the politics.
It is.
It's disheartening. It's discouraging. It's sickening, matter of fact. And what I've seen in 2 years of how this county operates, people in Hood County should be very concerned, especially the last 2 years, the way the Commissioner's Court has been run. And it's a new year, and I'm looking forward to new changes for the better.
We all are.
As we all are. We have an outstanding new commissioner, and I think things will change for the better. So I'm excited as far as that aspect goes. I think the people of Hood County can tentatively take a deep breath and say, let it out, and I think we're going to get better, which I know we are. That's an absolute. That's an absolute. But the 2 years that I've been in office, I have been dealing with Tyler, the conversion. It's coming up on 2 years. And you hit the nail on the head when you said fiasco. It's something that the reason it's been kicked down the road for years and years and years, because it's a difficult, lengthy process that involves all of the counties in Hood County, and it is not a one-size-fits-all.
No, and to go back a little bit, we're talking about software, and you have NetD, and you also have Tyler, and some offices work on one or the other. Some work on both, like the county clerk. Now everything's going to be transferring to Tyler and going away from NetD, correct?
Correct. And that conversion process is a very difficult process for the county. You take someone like Tyler, a multi-million yet billion-dollar-a-year company that makes these conversions hundreds of times. Hood County has made it zero. So we have some difficulty there transitioning over to the new system. And when we first started looking at this, I was told by our county judge and the commissioners, they wanted me to keep what worked best for my office. And who were they to tell me how to run my office and what software I needed? So coming in as a new elected official, justice of the peace, I thought, hey, this is great. County government's going to work great. We all work together, work with each other, and that's not what happened. Even though I was promised, those turned out to be lies, and there was not enough information that was allowed to get out about Tyler that I think is very concerning. And we didn't have what was called as the workshop, where all the stakeholders, the elected official and their office managers from each office in the county actually getting together and discussing what was happening here and what we needed and what was going to go on.
And that was promised, right?
It was.
When the commissioners' court went up there and voted, one of the commissioners promised and said, hey, okay, we'll have work group meetings. And this was a study that was done prior to, and I believe that the new commissioner coming in, Annette Samuelson, and Sharon Sheelander, who's with the Republican Club, they both looked into this because they had IT backgrounds. And they even said something about a matrix first, correct?
They did. It was in the Hood County software evaluation. They did a great job in it. And several things with that evaluation. One, there was an option for all the JPs to stay with NetD and actually save the county $130,000 because it's not one size fits all. NetData's bread and butter program is their JP office software. By far, it's better than anything else, including Tyler. And we had offices in Hood County that didn't like NetData, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. We had offices that loved NetData. And so essentially what the commissioners did is just rearrange everybody. They took those that now like their new software, Tyler, and those that don't like the new software, Tyler, being the JPs. They just kind of switched everybody around. And so that was disheartening. But in that software evaluation, 8 times stated the JPs are better off with NetData. And the matrix, the test model, if you will, that was recommended was requested to be done prior to signing the Tyler contract. And so that would have brought up a lot of problems that have arisen out of the conversion. One being like the county clerk, not having enough staff. Hey, look how much of this conversion process is overwhelming to the staffs. And we operate on small staffs. We're not like a Tarrant County where my JP office has 10 clerks. I've got 2.
Right.
And a part-time. And we don't have the manpower needed to put into this. And we're talking about 10 terabytes of information for the whole county that Tyler could have, I think, in my opinion, could have easily converted on their own. But instead, we had all this busy work where our clerks had to answer 100, 200, 500, 5,000 questions regarding civil cases, criminal cases, traffic cases, etc. And it was just a daunting task that was very disrupted to our daily jobs, which is to run the JP office and the county clerk office.
Right, and the county clerk had thousands and thousands of questions at 3 minutes apiece. And I think in one of the commissioning courts, she said something about it would take over a year, almost a year and a half, for one person to sit straight through to answer the questions. And, there are some people that say, hey, just take the new Tyler software and work with it. What's wrong with y'all? And part of it's saying, look, take it. You do Tyler, do whatever it is, but you have to lay the groundwork. In any business, you have to lay the groundwork first, make sure you have the finances in place, make sure that you have the personnel in place to do it. And Hood County didn't. So when you get into the finance aspect of it, when the auditor is trying to grab money from, Rob and Paul to pay Peter, then you come up with some problems when they already knew how much this Tyler conversion was going to cost.
Exactly. And not having the people to do that. But the questions that were asked of our clerks, and they called them SMEs, subject matter experts, when they got to a question they didn't understand, Tyler told them to skip it. Well, that's concerning because all this conversion of our data is very important. It's very precise. It has to be succinct. It has to work as it does with NetData, as it will with Tyler. I mean, that's very important. And I'll bring up an important point, the most concerning point to me here in just a minute. But why skip a question? If it wasn't important, why ask it at all? And that leads me to think this was all just busy work. There was a clause put in the contract, supposedly by Hood County commissioners, called a milestone marker. And if we didn't reach these certain dates, or if Tyler didn't reach these certain dates, well, it would be cost. It would cost Tyler or cost Hood County. And Tyler is a multi-million-dollar company with great lawyers, and we're a small county. And those milestone markers, I see they just kind of laughed about it, because what happened was because of that. We were so inundated with answering these questions and staying on course, it was delayed. But it turns out many of the county offices were having issues that could have been avoided or talked about with the matrix that Nanette Samuelson and Sharon Sheelander had proposed to have this done, to see what was needed, the personnel that were needed. You mentioned the cost on Tyler. Here's something nobody knows, or very few people know. The Tyler contract is $3.6 million. When they brought this contract on, it's 1.5, 1.2, 1.7. No. The 5-year contract is $3,680,000. And that was in our budget. Our auditor said, no, we have that money. Really? The maintenance for all that and the over the 5 years, we had that covered. Anytime you change to something brand new, it's going to cost you more money. This isn't about saving the taxpayers' money, because we were fine. Many offices were fine with net data. And even just leaving us with net data would save the county money, but it wasn't about saving money. So there's a lot of opportunities out there that were just missed because the contract wasn't read fully. 2 years ago, when Dave Eagle and Kevin Andrews asked for another 2 weeks till the next commissioners court meeting to read the contract, the other commissioners said, nope, we've already read it. We're moving forward. And one of the commissioners stated, well, I've read almost all of it. Well, we now see that was a mistake, because it is epic mismanagement of this contract. In the contract, it calls for Hood County to have a project director. We have none.
So there's no project director for Hood County.
Nope.
So in the contract, if you have a problem, you don't go to the project director because there isn't one.
Well, we have an IT director. In the contract, it calls for a project manager, an IT director, and Drew, credit to him, God bless him, he is overwhelmed with this, because essentially he's taken on the whole thing. He cannot be the IT director and the project manager. Hood County, per contract, was also supposed to have a steering committee, or a user committee, if you will, that goes around to all the offices. How's things going? No one ever appeared in my office. Hey, how things going? I don't think anybody appeared in Katie's office, the county clerk. But when you ask the commissioner's court, who's the project manager? They said Tyler. So that's a little bit like the fox guarding the hen house. Nobody is there looking out for the interest of Hood County. When you don't have a project director for a huge project, a $3.6 million contract, who's watching out for this? No one.
No one.
Drew's trying the best he can, but he's the IT director. And in the contract, it called for an IT director. So he's doing all he can with his staff. And so that's huge mismanagement, if not negligence, of a contract of this size and nature.
Because it will go beyond that $3.68 million.
Well, it will. You go into your 6th year and you've got maintenance cost, and then you have to sign a new contract. What's the new contract cost? The reason I didn't want to switch, because my predecessor, JP1 and JP2, didn't want to switch. Judge Gwynn and JP3, she wanted to switch, and I was all for that. What can I do to help you with your office? What can you do to help me with mine? I said, that would have been a perfect scenario to let JP3 go with it, and then we would actually have comparison of apples to apples. Let's see how it works. In a couple of years, we would have all gone to Tyler, or maybe they would have come back to NetD. But the main reason, Mike, I had serious concerns because I did my research. And here's my research. You've seen the book. I've offered it to anybody that wants to come to my office and look at it. Tyler has been sued from California to Texas, Ohio, Indiana, Maine, Tennessee, Florida, Colorado, Iowa, Washington. The list goes on and on and on for integrity issues with the data, the conversion. And the main concern was mine was all the people across the United States, innocent citizens, were unlawfully arrested and put in jail because of the Tyler conversion of the software from your previous software provider. For us, it was Net Data. So let's say you had a warrant several years ago out of my court. You paid it, it's all gone. Well, in the transition of the data conversion, that warrant that was inactive has become active.
Oh, wow.
And so that's a huge security concern. I do not want one person in Hood County or the state of Texas or anywhere going to jail unlawfully. The states that I told you that have had issues with Tyler, here's some of the headlines. When a system upgrade gets you arrested, big data getting wrong people arrested, an absolute debacle. Court software violates the Constitution. Lubbock County, not the only one where Tyler Tech has software issues. Little side note there, Wichita Falls, Amarillo, Polk County, Montgomery County, all those counties in the state of Texas had issues with Tyler. And some were also security issues. Court records wide open. That's another headline. Tyler has a portal that the public can enter. And in California, there's huge lawsuits that all this information from the courts, juvenile records, records that are not public information, were all gained access through the Tyler portal. That's an issue. Here's a headline. Lawyers, new court software is awful. It's getting people wrongly arrested. Traffic court ticketing glitch is the latest in a long line of missteps in Tyler Technologies. So I see these, and that's a huge concern. I presented to the commissioners and the county judge. They didn't pay attention. So when we started converting data, we had it happen.
Here?
In Hood County. It was testing, right? None of the records were going live. But it happened. We had warrants that not only were inactive, that showed up active. We had warrants that were regular warrants that became 2 warrants. And we had regular warrants that became a capious warrant.
Wow.
A capious warrant means you're going to jail.
Right.
We had it happen in Hood County with our conversion. Now, we told Tyler, but one of the other headlines is Tyler still hasn't resolved all their issues. So I asked Tyler during a governance meeting, can you guarantee this won't happen? And they said, well, we can't guarantee anything. I said, I can guarantee you it will not happen with my current software.
Has it happened at all with your current software?
No, it hasn't.
So that tells you right there there's a huge probable problem with Tyler. And that kind of goes back to the matrix and the work groups and some of the testing that should have been done beforehand when you're doing a project of this size for a county the size of ours. And you hit on it earlier a little bit, and I think I think what Tyler is doing as a company is letting all the elected offices work on this instead of them putting their own dime in doing it. And they're going to use this data and they're going to transfer it from county to county to county where they don't have to do the work and spend the money that the counties are. And you have commissioners and the judge that sit on this court and basically open the citizen's checkbook up and say, that's fine with us. And not only is it fine with us, we're not even going to watch you or pay attention to what's going on.
You know, we have a contract with the YMCA, right?
Yes.
I don't think anybody can find it. I know they actually found it. Commissioner Eagle found it the other day in a place that nobody knew to look, but no one's even monitored that contract since it went in how many years ago?
What, 11, 10, 11?
And is it even being done right? So we have an issue with some of the contracts. A lot of these big ticket contracts are not being diligently gone over line by line. Hey, this is what we need to do. Like in the contract, we need a project director. Who's our project director for this Tyler conversion? Let's have one. We don't have one. So we're just writing the checks, and that is concerning. I wanted out of Tyler. I requested to the commissioners. I've got all the emails to the county judge. I want out. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to a paper system, the way it used to be done years ago. And do you know how many other offices in the county are affected by that decision? None. The JP offices are standalone. That would not affect anybody. And that was in Commissioner's Court. Drew said, he backed me up on that. Mm-hmm. No one else is going to be affected. So by me wanting out of the Tyler contract, I wasn't going to use it. One, because if I got one person arrested, if that person got arrested, I'm going to get sued. You can guarantee that.
The county.
Civilly, the county civilly, civil rights violations, it opens up a Pandora's box we don't want opened. And so I was just not going to use it, and I was adamant about that. And then we get the amendment for $220,000, and I'm like, wait, I'm saving the county money because you're having to remove JP4 out of the mix. You don't need to pay for anything that I'm doing.
So the amendment, the $220,000, that is fairly new. That came across Commissioner's Court, correct?
Right. It just showed up in the judge's office one day, and nobody says they even knew about it, never saw it coming. Number one, what kind of partner is Tyler that they would surprise us with this? Number two, why wouldn't they work with us on this? Number three, had we had a project director, they say, hey, if this doesn't happen, if JP4 doesn't come online, here's what could happen. Mm-hmm. If county clerk doesn't come online, this is what could happen. Instead, it's after the fact, bam, here's this. And then there's a clause in the Tyler contract that says you have the right to mediation. No one mediated this. You have 30 days to do it. There's two phases to this. One is the removing of the data from JP4 and the county clerk so it doesn't go live. And that was a $20,000 bill. We're talking software here. We're talking something that you just, when you delete something from your computer, it's never deleted.
Right.
It's in the delete files. And even if you delete it out of the delete files, it's still there. So all the information is recoverable. Take it out, save it on a thumb drive disk. I mean, there's information there. But it cost the county to remove us, which I don't think they needed to remove us. And then the second part of it is a billable 1,250 hours, which I've had other experts come to me and say, that is bogus. It's not going to take that much to get the county clerk and JP4, which I'm on the edge anyway of going live. My clerk spent 9 months getting this ready till we said, stop. This is inundating and overwhelming to our office. And we stopped, but we were ready to go. I still to this day believe we could have gone live. But the county commissioners wouldn't let us out of it. But anyway, back to this, I think we're getting billed for more hours that we've already paid for, hours that were needed to convert my office, JP4, and the county clerk. We're getting billed for them again. But no one, on the commissioner's court, went to that clause to say, let's mediate this. We want you to explain, because we got 10 lines on this amendment. It doesn't explain anything. Is this up for mediation? Well, we'll find out after it's done, but we're going to go ahead and pay for this. So again, mismanagement. Had we had a project director, could have helped, but also had Tyler been a good partner and said, hey, this is what we're looking at. And yes, I'll take the blame. I didn't want to do Tyler. I thought we could opt out of it and save the county money then by going to a paper system.
So when we look at this $220,000 bill, the auditor, Becky Kidd, was wanting the county clerk's office to pay this, which this is an unexpected bill coming in, and to have it come out of one of their funds, which she said in court statutorily it can't come out of and be used for certain things. So when we look at your office already doing a lot of the work for the conversion, the county clerk's office has been working, I believe, 9 months also, up until a certain point, up until questions, I believe it was, getting ready to get Tyler online. Do you think that all the offices were ready to go online? And as far as the online dates, is Tyler the one slowing it down?
It's a combination of both the county and Tyler. So nobody was ready to go the original date of October 31st.
So nobody. So when the judge sits up there and talks about you in your office and Katie Lang in her office,
right,
nobody was ready to go.
No, okay. And that was the original go live date, which they also called the Big Bang, which they misled the public. The Big Bang was not all the offices. It was certain offices. And when I brought that up in Commissioner's Court, you should have seen the look on the judge and commissioner's faces because they weren't aware of that. And they had to get Drew out there to explain, well, that's, okay, so the constables, 4 constables, environmental, they're not going to go live till 2023. They're not even going to start converting Tyler till March of 2023. So not everybody was going Big Bang. So the pushback on the go live date was set back 2 weeks. Then it went to December 1st, 3rd, 5th, whatever it was. And at that point, we had a governance meeting where our district attorney and our county attorney and people from their office said, we're not ready. We don't have the manpower, the people to put in the work. And yes, all along, again, Tyler has done this hundreds of times. We've never done it. And it seemed like we were doing all the work for this when Tyler simply could have just converted all the data. And there's a bit matrix that actually counts characters on a piece of paper. And, you know, if you have a piece of paper and there's 2,000 characters and Tyler has the software to convert it right over. 2,000 characters here, 2,000 characters there, we're good to go. 2,000 characters here, 2,010 characters here. Oh, wait, let's take a look at this. And so we'd go through and look through that. But for the most part, this is something Tyler could convert our whole county in 200 hours. And that's not my opinion. There's a gentleman named David Ferris, and David is a outstanding citizen here in Hood County who shows up at commissioners meeting of his own volition to look at what goes on. And he took an interest in this. And he has a master's degree in management information systems. He's built companies like H&R Block and companies that do 401ks. And, you know, he teaches in colleges about management information systems. He knows this stuff. He has taken a look at all this and has totally agreed with all of our concerns. And he voiced his concerns about it as well, saying, this system's a train wreck and there's another train coming. So David Ferris just confirmed a lot of our concerns that we had. And he was someone that was outside in Hood County, you know, just a spectator, and comes in and he agreed that things were not done the way they should have been done. They weren't set up properly, and they were all set up for failure and for issues that we have. So it's not just me that had concerns or the county clerk that had concerns about this. It's concerning to all of us. But not everybody was ready to go at the go live date.
And that kind of gets to my point on the Kathy Cruz side, the Hood County News, the county judge, and where you spoke out against it, and you actually read the contract and read a lot about it. And Katie spoke out about the statutory things in Texas laws and what the money can be used for and what it couldn't. But it seemed like you and Katie were held up as the political hostages, even when other offices may not have wanted to do it and they didn't speak up about it, yet they're not ready for it because there's too much of Tyler's business involved in getting this process through the conversion. So I think you and Katie have become the face of this project either not working or working because, like it or not, the county judge and a couple of the commissioners are just at odds with both of you over this issue.
Exactly. I mean, hit the nail on the head. And I take full responsibility for my office, but there's reasons for it. Mm-hmm. And I stated earlier, I have integrity, and I'm looking out for not only the people that voted for me, but everyone in Hood County and all the citizens that come through my county and all the thousands and thousands of citizens in the past that have warrants that are inactive because they were taken care of. And so I take responsibility for that. But, I liken this to a football game. I mean, you have a head coach, which for us is the county judge, and I'm just one of the players. But this is a failure countywide, and it wasn't vetted properly, although Nanette Samuelson and Sharon Sheelander did it loud and clear. They just saw what they wanted in that evaluation that fit their agenda. And everything else that I was fighting for didn't matter. And as far as that local newspaper, what they did recently was a bold-faced lie. Their headline that said the county takes another 6-figure digit hit on software delay, that's just not true. It's wrong. Because what I said earlier, the constables, 4 constables in environmental, don't even start the process till March, and they all use net data. So the net data contract had to be taken into 2023. And when our auditor decided to make a partial payment to net data, which violated the net data contract, net data promised to cancel the contract, terminate it, December 31st of 2022. And they sent letters to all the JP and office holders. They didn't send letters to the commissioners or the county judge. That was interesting. They sent it to Becky Kidd, and all of a sudden this letter started circulating, and the county judge got a little upset that why didn't Becky Kidd pay the full amount? And therefore, we know what happened. She paid the full amount. Therefore, net data is continuing their contract till we actually go live. So
Net D had, sorry to interrupt, but Net D was going to be through Becky Kidd stopped where you had nothing at all?
Exactly.
So you would have come into 2023 and you would have either had Tyler, which you don't have.
Right.
Or all the offices don't have.
None of the constables or environmental, we would have all been in the dark. So the county clerk, and Clint Head, other offices, because not everybody participated in the Big Bang. There were a lot of offices that weren't. And
isn't that supposed to go through Commissioner's Court to pay the bills and not just up to the auditor to say, as of December 31st, 2022, we're done?
I try to stay in my lane, watch out my office. I can't figure out what goes on in Commissioner's Court. And all I know is Net D terminated the contract. They gave us notice that the Hood County contract would be terminated December 31st, 2022. And really, they didn't have to extend the contract. They could have left it as it was. Net D has a relationship with our offices here. They've been a partner for years and years and years. They don't want to leave those offices in the cold or in the dark because it would have been difficult.
Right.
There's a lot of receivables, a lot of warrants, a lot of data information that would just not be there. Now, we do have our own system.
Right.
And we have all of our past information on the system. But as far as all the support and other issues and other things that we use through net data, it would have all been terminated and shut off. So the rest of the contract was paid, and we have net data till, I believe it's September of 2023.
So that's another aspect of having a project manager, project director that could have seen what was going on instead of Becky out on her own and maybe IT doing something over here and the Commissioner's Court not knowing what's going on. In this thing, and I said it right off the bat, a fiasco. this thing keeps continuing to be a fiasco. And I know your name and Katie's name is on this as far as the Hood County News. And you have that, I don't know, 8 inches stacked of nothing but thousands of sheets of paper, emails and documents. Mm-hmm. And has Kathy Cruz sat down with you to speak about what's going on?
No, and I offered, and I've written her several emails, and one email was at length about when I actually offered her to come look at all this information, and I corrected her on all the things she put in the first article about the $220,000 amendment, and she said, well, that's nice, but we're not going to write a retraction. And I said, well, I don't figure you would. And this is all done through email.
Right.
And so I have those emails. And then I sent her an email the other day stating this was a bold-faced lie, the last article. And it's libel towards me and our county clerk. It's in writing what they wrote, and it's not our offices that is responsible for the net data contract being continued. It had to be done anyway, and it was budgeted for. It's in the Hood County budget to pay for net data through the time that we all go live with Tyler. And even if Katie and I were live right now, the constables aren't, and the other offices we spoke of, so they would still be using net data.
That is either one big mistake or that is another piece of this puzzle that in my mind I thought, well, they're just kind of messing up. Maybe the auditor's messing up here and there in the commissioner court. And this is, and you said libel, for the Hood County News. They're getting information from either the auditor or the commissioner's court. So whatever information they're getting, and to me, this just smacks of nothing but political targeting.
Absolutely.
And just out and out. And that's from the commissioner court, Becky Kidd, and now the Hood County News. And I've expected that from the Hood County News for years. But when you start messing with $3.6 million plus in an ongoing contract, another $220,000, and you start putting names to it that are totally false because of what Tyler is supposed to be doing and hasn't done, and this non-existent project manager and all the non-existent committees that you were supposed to have, this is a fiasco that hopefully the new commissioner's court will take a look at and say, what the heck's going on?
Well, it's a train wreck. And I hope there's not another train coming, but we're going to see with all this information because it's going to take months to get used to this new system. And there's data records out there that we may not pull up for months. And all of a sudden something comes up and it doesn't work. And those are all little issues that can be worked out. But there are serious concerns why this contract was not read in depth. And we noted things in the contract like, hey, we need a project manager. And we don't have one. And so they're trying to catch up now. We have one of the clerks from JP3 that has now gone to work for IT, who's done a pretty tremendous job with the Tyler conversion. And she is now helping, but she's in IT again. And together, collectively, they could do the job as a project manager, but we're doing some scrambling to get it all fixed and taken care of.
We really haven't talked about the sheriff's office much. And in the original contract, they were left out. But, I've had people come up and ask me about, hey, this Tyler stuff, why isn't the sheriff involved? And the sheriff has just a ton of files, evidently, just a ton.
That goes back, 40, 50 years, maybe more.
So he's on NetD.
Right.
And they've already entered everything into NetD. So for them to actually convert over to Tyler would be millions and millions upon itself, probably.
Probably the data conversion would just be enormous and it just not cost effective to do it. So the sheriff's department uses two systems. They use Spillman and they use NetData. And when I'm back in the jail, and I'm at the sheriff's department every day, I walk through, whether it's magistrations or picking up paperwork, tickets, what have you. And I speak to people that use NetData, and they like NetData. There's a sheet that when I'm doing magistrations that has all the information on the inmate that I need to do a magistration, and that's a NetData sheet. And it's convenient. They just print it out. With the new system, that has to all be converted. The new system would be a little different. But just trying to convert all that in the original contract or the software evaluation by Commissioner Nanette Samuelson and Sharon Cheelander, there were three options. One is everybody changes except the sheriff. Number two was everybody changes except the sheriff and the JPs. Number three, status quo. Do what you want, what works best for your office, which was a pretty good idea in my opinion. But the sheriff's department was always left out of this equation because of the enormity of all their files. But, supposedly Tyler has a software they're in development of that will convert the files from net data over to them. But again, that's going to be a huge price tag on that. And Spillman supposedly is working on a conversion software as well. So I'm not really sure all the ins and outs of the sheriff's department. I just know that they were left out of this whole equation.
Of course they were. And I have my reasons and my ideas of why, but the county clerk's office and the district clerks probably have the next amount of information and data after the sheriff's department. So that tells me that no matter what, they're still going to have to pay Net D because of the sheriff's department, and he's going to be on Net D for a long time.
Right. Well, Mike, I appreciate the opportunity to come up and at least speak my piece. The truth has nothing to fear. And as I said earlier, my door is always open, and I always will take constructive criticism because I want to get it right. I want to get it right the next time. If I messed up, and I'll get it right the next time, but I want to do the best job that I can. And that I have a history of doing that. And the truth, I will always tell you the truth. And I won't tell you what you want to hear. And I expect the same. And it takes guts to do that. Don't tell me what I want to hear. Tell me what's going to make me better. And if we all had that attitude, this county would be run like clockwork. I mean, if we all were in this to help one another, but I just don't understand certain people's agendas, their motives of why they just can't do the right thing, work together for the benefit of one another and for the county. You keep hearing, let's all work together, but doing the right thing is not a difficult thing to do. And if we could all do the right thing, it would be a lot easier.
It sure would be. And I appreciate what you do and what you do with your office and the integrity that you've had. I've known you for more than you've been a JP, but I really appreciate what you do, and I know a lot of people do. And your integrity, bar none, I trust you as a JP, as a man, as a godly man, and I appreciate what you do, and I know a lot of people do. And looking at this whole thing from start to where it is now, this Tyler fiasco, I just wish that maybe in the beginning the commissioner's court would have just said, hey, let's just test it. Whoever wants to go to it can go to it and then go from there. But that's not how it happened. And I think in the last year or so, 8 months, they've taken the opportunity, and I say they, the judge, a couple of commissioners, and especially the auditor, to start targeting individuals politically. And we just had a political, year. And so, that's the part of it for me is they don't care about the citizens. And this is coming from me. They don't care about the citizens. They want their political targets. They want their hits. They want the good old boy system to remain intact. And when you go over a contract that's $3.6 million plus, and you're going to add it, more and more to it later, you don't have a project manager. You don't have anybody in charge for the county. You don't have anybody looking out for the county and the citizens. We got a problem.
We do. We do. Well, thank you very much. You humble me with your blessings and your statements. And, every day I give thanks to God. And that's how we all should be. But, I'm here for a reason. And it's by God's grace and blessings. And I try to extend that to everybody, especially mercy. And with justice comes mercy. And that's how I run my office, and I help anybody I can. So thanks again for the opportunity to get on here and at least voice my my concerns and the truth, actually. And much appreciated.
Sure. And I've got an information request coming out that has all Hood County News and Kathy Cruz information. So we might be able to dig a little bit deeper into this. And next time, I appreciate you coming in, but next time I think we're going to start focusing more on the political targets than the actual contracts and information.